Yeah. Good afternoon. Are you able to see my screen? PPT?
Yes, sir, visible.
Okay, okay. Now yesterday we actually yesterday we discussed about the riveted joint. Today we are going to continue the riveted joint. Just see. Now yesterday what we discussed, just a recap, just couple of minutes, then we go for the today discussion. Now yesterday we discussed 1 minute. Yeah, we discussed yesterday type of rivet heads, type of riveted joint, and application of riveted joint, and application of riveted joint we discussed, and how to make the riveting methods we discussed, right? These are the things we discussed: type of rivet heads and type of riveted joints. In that, this is due to bending, how the rivet is warping, distortion going to happen. Those things we discussed now, and also we discussed the riveted type of riveted joint, the lap joint, single lap joint, double lap joint, and double lap joint with zigzag design, the single lap and double lap joint with the chain design. Okay, and we discussed butt joint, single strap butt joint, double strap butt joint. Those things we discussed, and double strap butt joint, chain type, double strap. Double strap, double butt joint. Double strap, double butt joint. Zigzag pattern, double strap, double riveted, double strap butt joint, zigzag, and this chain type we discussed in the last class. Last class. Also, we discussed about this riveted joint for structural application. This is a launch joint for using structural application. We discussed, and the rivet material we discussed, and this is a standard table material properties, rivet material properties we discussed. Now this is very important. Today we are going to concentrate most of the things here only. See here the plate in tension. While the plate in tension, this is going to be failure. Okay, now plate in shear. Now fasteners here. This is a rivet in shear. The rivet is getting due to shear. The rivet is going to be failure. Now, due to this is a whole bearing or bending. This one. Now, this is due to rivet bending. Due to rivet bending. Now, this is a plate shear. In this case, this case, the plate is getting failure. That rivet is not failure. The plate is getting failure due to plate shear. Plate shear. Okay. So these things we discussed, and furthermore, this one, and these are the things. Tearing means this is the one plate, this is another plate. Oh, this looks like the front view. Here, this is the plate tearing towards the revert. Now, this is the things yesterday we discussed. Now, today we go to strength equations. The strength equations. Strength of the revert is defined as the force that the joint can withstand without causing the failure. When the operating force acting on the rivet, when the operating force acting on the acting on the rivet, operating force operating force acting on the joint, not only rivet, joint. I mean, see here the strength equation we are considering. Here different diagram, whatever we discussed earlier, schematic diagram here. This is due to shear. This is due to tensile this region along the thickness of the plate. Due to this is due to crushing. This is due to crushing. I mean this. See here. This is the plate. The plate. The this is here. This is a rivet. The hole is getting compressed. The holes of the plate is getting compressed here. The holes of the plate is getting compressed. This region I am saying here. The holes of the plate is getting compressed. Holes of the plates getting compressed, then it may change in the form of vowel shape. Okay, ellipse shape or vowel shape. That is called crushing of the failure. Now, I mean, the third, I mean, next one is due to plate, I mean, shear failure. The shear failure of the plate going to undergoing to shear failure, then the plate is going to be broken here. This is shear failure. This is the margin, I mean, tearing of the plate. I mean, this is a tearing of the margin. Tearing of the plate means the plate is going to be tearing from the margin. Okay, these are the things very important consideration for designing our rivet. Okay, the strength equation can be written in, I mean, can be written in three ways. I mean, for here now we are going to concentrate three failures only. One is shear failure of the rivet, tensile failure of the rivet, and crushing failure of the rivet. Now we are not, mostly we are not concentrating on the margin. Tearing of the margin. This is the main importance. I mean, these three failures are very very important. Shear failure, tensile failure of the plate. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Shear failure of the plate, tensile failure of the plate, and the crushing failure of the plate. These are very important. Now, see here. First, we consider shear strength of the plate, shear strength of the rivet. Sorry, shear strength of the rivet. Now, in the shear strength of the rivet, shear failure, we already know what is the shear stress. Shear stress is nothing but a tau. Tau is equal to P by pi by 4 d square. Now, this is the shear strength. This is as usual formula we already discussed many times, even the strength of material book. Okay. Now, I mean, this is shear failure. Now, I mean, how many shears here? I mean, suppose, okay, now number of, now this is single shear. Suppose this is the plate subjected to two plates have been connected by single rivet, and this is a lap joint, right? Lap joint subjected into single shear, right? The PS is nothing but our shear resistance. I mean, PS is nothing but shear resistance created the rivet, developed by the rivet per pitch length. We already discussed the pitch, what is the pitch, what is the transverse pitch and margin, those things already discussed. Now shear resistance of the river to per pitch is called PS. Now we are seeing PS. Now see here. Now, I mean, this is the diameter, d is the sunk diameter, tau is the permissible shear stress. In case of double or triple riveted lap joint, double or triple riveted lap joint, then the number of the number of shear and above the equation we are modifying by using notation n here. The n is representing number of rivets per pitch length. See here, for here, see here, suppose here only one rivet, suppose two rivet, then n going to be 2. Number of rivets per pitch length is nothing but n. Then now we are using this formula. Our shear resistance PS is equal to pi by 4 d squared into tau multiplied by n, depends on the number of rivet using in the plate. Now in especially lap joint, single shear. Suppose we come to butt joint. I mean, butt joint means we are using a strap, right? This upper strap, lower strap. Then here how many shears going to be there? There are two shears. One shear here, another shear is here. This is the butt joint. So in this case, how do we modify the equation? I mean, the shears is the formula is same only. We are going to modify the equation based on our butt joint. That's what we are saying. For in case of double strap single riveted butt joint, the rivets are subjected to double shear. I mean, whatever we have shown in the earlier figure. Okay. Now, the area of the resistive failure twice the cross section area of the rivet. I mean, that is nothing but, I mean, 2 into 2 into, this is a twice, no? This is here. The area of cross section is twice, right? Because it is presented at two rivets. Here area 5 by 4 pi by 4 d square. Here cross section area pi by 4 d square. Here the cross section area pi by 4 d square. Here the cross section area pi by 4 d square. Hence we are multiplying 2. Now, I mean, now come to the tensile strength. Tensile strength. Now, what is a tensile strength? See here, tensile strength of the plate between the rivets. I mean, the tensile failure of the plate between the consecutive rivets in the row is here shown in figure. See here, this is pitch. I mean, distance between center of two play rivet is called pitch, right? Pitch. Now, what is this? I mean, anyway, we are concentrating the tensile strength of the plate. This is nothing but PT. This tens, I mean, therefore the tensile resistance of the plate, the tensile resistance developed by the plate is nothing but PT is equal to P minus D. Here we are concentrating thickness of the plate. We are not concentrating on the play, I mean our rivet here. Now only we considering this region of interest only. Along the thickness, this region of the interest only we are considering. Okay, because I mean this is the region nothing but P minus D, P minus D in P minus D into T, that area, cross section area, into sigma T. That's what, that is our tensile strength between the tensile resistance of the plate between the two rivets. Now this is considering the notation PT. Keep in mind PS means yes resistance, PT is tensile resistance. Okay, now I come to this crushing resistance. Now crushing resistance, I mean the crushing resistance, the failure of the plate due to, I mean the effect of the compressive stress between the sunk of the rivet and the plate thickness. Okay, now see here, that's what earlier I drawn. Crushing says I have drawn, just now I have drawn the figure. Based on that, we are concentrating this region. I mean the whole region is nothing but, now this is region we are considering from the plate. Now what is this? D. Okay, T, this thickness of the holes here, thickness of the hole here, T. And diameter of the hole is nothing but our sunk diameter of the rivet, D. DT, but this is a projection area here, projection area. Okay, that is our crushing strength of the plate. Crushing strength of the plate is nothing but a PC equal to DT into sigma C into N. N is representing number of rivets, number of rivets. Okay, now this is the crushing resistance of the plate per pitch length, per pitch length, per pitch length. I mean this is sigma C is the I mean compressive, permissible compressive stress of the plate material. Now I come to the efficiency of the joint. What is the efficiency of the joint? See, in general we know very well know about that. I mean whenever we are introducing the holes, we are losing the strength of the material, right? Suppose this is a plain plate, solid plate. In this plate, now in this plate, if we are not introducing any holes or not introducing any cracks, the plate strength is much high. The plate strength is better when we are introducing holes or cracks, right? Without introducing holes and cracks, the plate strength is better. Suppose I'm introducing holes, what will happen in general? The plate is going to be less strength only, because whenever holes is presented, the stress concentration will be high. Now I mean that is solid plate. I mean what is the efficiency here? I mean before making hole, how much the plate strength, after making hole, how much strength of the plate, that we are going to consider for defining the efficiency of the joint. Now because without a hole we cannot make a joint, we cannot access our rivet, hence we are introducing the holes. Then without introducing hole, with introducing hole, without introducing hole, what is the plate strength? Now when we are introducing the hole, we have studied in different manner. One is shear resistance of the plate, tensile resistance of the plate, crushing resistance of the plate. In the early slides we discussed. Now when we are not introducing the plate, I mean holes, when we are not introducing the holes, this is the our strength of the plate. I mean this is the, I mean I'm considering in the one pitch length only, I'm considering this one pitch length only, I'm considering this one pitch length only. Okay, then one pitch length means the length is nothing but I mean this is nothing but P, then thickness T into sigma T. Then this is the efficiency of the joint is nothing but lowest PS, shear resistance or tensile resistance or crushing resistance divided by our P. I mean this is nothing but solid plate, the strength of the solid plate. This is nothing but after introducing the rivet hole, then we are finding the PS, PT, PC. The ratio between the lowest P of PS or PT or PC divided by P. This is nothing but our efficiency of the joint. Okay. Now I come to the chalking, caulking, and fullering. What is caulking and fullering? See here, in many applications, the like pressure vessels and boilers, the riveted joint should be a leak proof and fluid tight. Must we should for mean that should be satisfied. That should be fulfilled. That is our requirement, right? Should not be a leak proof. Must be fluid tight, right? Then we are doing some kind of process. We are doing some kind of process that is nothing but a caulking and flaring process. I mean that can be used to obtain the such a leak proof riveted joint, such a fluid tight riveted joint. Then what is this process? How we are doing? What is this process? We are going to discuss now. I mean the chalking is done by either by hand hammer or by use pneumatic or hydraulic hammer. Hand hammer or pneumatic hydraulic hammer. Okay. Yeah. Pneumatic hydraulic hammer. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Now this is now. I mean the head of the rivet is also hammered down. Hammered down. The head of the rivet. This is our chalking tool, caulking tool. Okay. The head of the rivet also is hammered down with the chalking tool. I mean here the blows of caulking here, the blows of caulking tool close the surface asperities is nothing but, so here what we are doing exactly, I tell you that I mean the edges of the plate, edges of the lap joint, maybe this is edges of the lap joint, or maybe edges of the, I mean, edges of the butt joint, edges of the strap plate in the butt joint. Okay, here the edges are beveled to 75 degree to 70 degree to 75 degree. But here exactly that the caulking, how we are doing this? I mean, this is the, I mean, this is the tool, I mean tip of the tool here, the tip of the tool here, the tip of the tool, whatever we are using this, the tip of the tool here. Okay, the tip of the tool forcing down the edges, forcing down the edges in the rivet head. Okay, in the rivet head, as well as the forcing the down the edges in the joint. Here some edges going to be, it's like a sharp corners that can be, it that can be create the gap between the revert head and our plate, that will be removed, that will be removed. That's what the tip of the tool is forcing down the edges of the point, edges of the forcing down the edges of the point as well as the edges of the rivet head. Okay, then the gap going to be closed, the gap going to be closed. That's what we are saying, hence the close all the asperities in the contacting surface, the gap will be closed in between the head of the window, the rivet head, and this plate. Okay, this is our plate, and which plate we are joined. Now what is a fullering, I mean fullering tool? Now see here, here the gap is edge, the gap between the, I mean the asperities between the rivet head and the plate, it be closed. Similarly the gap between the two plates in the lap joint going to be closed with the help of the caulking tool. Then the gap will be avoided, and airtight and fluid tight joint can be obtained, can be obtained. Okay, now I come to the fullering tool. I mean fullering is, this is, I mean the now the fullering tool, this is similar operation, but here we are using here the sharp tool, but here we are using the, I mean fullering tool is the not a sharp tool. I mean, the width of the fullering tool is with our width of the plate equal to the thickness of the plate being hammered. Which plate going to be hammered? Which plate going to be hammered? I mean, here also, see the 1 minute chalking. Yeah, here also the blows. of the pullering tool, the result in simultaneous pressure on the entire edge of the plate. Simultaneous pressure on the entire edge of the plate whenever the side gap or any side gap or clearance should be there. Whenever you are applying the pressure, then simultaneously apply the pressure, it will be close the side gaps also with the help of the this pullering tool. But the pullering tool, I mean width of the pullering tool is equal to thickness of the our plate, now here for making them this with the help of the pullering tool, then we for making them leak proof and fluid tight joint, and also the fullering tool gives the clean finish whenever we are apply the when we are making the riveted joint. This it will be a clean finish, it may try to deform or distort that time. Hence when you are applying the fullering operation here, then it gives the clean finish, it will gives clean finish. And will be also this is a less risk as compared to our caulking tool. Caulking tool is now, I mean, it looks like a sharp tool. So this is the, I mean, using the two process, we able to get leak proof joint and we able to get fluid tight joint. I mean, any unnecessary burrs or gaps, it can be closed with the help of the chalking tool, and here also with the help of the fullering tool, those things it can be avoided. Then we can obtain the good I mean good leak proof joint, riveted joint, and the fluid tight joint we can apply, we can get it. But chalking cannot be applied the plates with less than the 6 mm. This is the limitations, okay. Now I come to the problem. Now see the problem. Yeah, brake okay. Yeah, brake band attached to the hinge by means of rotor joint is shown in figure. This is the figure. Okay, this is determine the size of the rivets needed for the joint of 10 kilonewton, for the load of 10 kilonewton. Also determine the width of the band, the permissible stresses for a band and rivets in tension, shear and compression all given. Tension, shear, permissible tension, shear, compression, all are given 80, 60, 120 Newton per mm squared respectively. Now the margin, we already know margin, even if they are not giving, we have to take 1.5D. We discussed in the earlier class. Okay. And the transverse pitch is equal to PT, P is equal to PT. Find the pitch of the rivets. Now, I mean, very simple problem. There are 4 rivets, right? Rivet 1, rivet 2, rivet 3. Then what is the resistance force? Shear resistance force. P is equal to pi by 4 d squared into tau for single rivet. Then 4 rivets multiplied by 4. Then they have given here tau is given 60 Newton per mm square. From this we are able to find out the d in the first case with respect to our shear. Okay. Second case, now second is, I mean, this is the now the diameter. Diameter is now how much? 8 mm. Now I am considering crushing consideration due to compressive stress. Already given compressive stress is, I mean, here a compressive bond in tension and shear and compression. Compression is 120 Newton per mm square given. I mean, this is nothing but our crushing. Crushing also P is equal to sigma C into dt. Then number of plates, number of rivets are 4. Then 4 into dt into sigma C. Then from this we are able to get load is given. All the case load is given P. Then from this able to get diameter of the rivet is 7 mm. Okay. From this A and B, which one is suitable? I mean, this higher dimension, higher diameter is a preferable. Now, width of the band. What is the width of the band? Width of the band is nothing but considering the tensile strength of the plate along with the section XX. Now, which section? This section. Now we are considering this section because this section is this section is going to be subjected into tensile. We are considering now while load is acting in this direction. Now, I mean, we would like to find out our width of the plate. What is the W? This one. Now, anyway, the tensile strength also given. I mean, tension is 8, what is the tensile strength given here? Yeah, the sigma T is given. Tension, shear, compression. Tension is 80 Newton per mm square. Tension is given. I mean, we already know P is equal to W minus 2 dt sigma T. Sigma T no, T no, right? T already we know. Only the 2D we know. D already we have found it. P we know. Only what is W. Only what is W. Now finally we have found the W60 mm. Now come to this now plate dimensions. Here pitch is nothing but P plus 2m. This pitch is equal to P plus 2m. Okay, now pitch is P plus 2m. P plus 2m. P plus 2m is equal. We know already width of the plate. Now what is the pitch of the plate? Pitch between the two rivets. Pitch between the two rivets. We know W. What is the W? W nothing but P plus 2m. Once we know this, we can find out. We know M, we know W, then we able to find out what is the pitch. M is already given 1.5 mm, 1.5 times of diameter. Okay, now transverse pitch is nothing but PT is equal to P 30 mm. Okay. Now I come to the next problem. Two flat plates subjected to tensile force Phi are connected together by means of the double strap butt joint as shown in figure. This is a double strap butt joint. Okay, double strap butt joint. Okay, 1 minute. Okay, double strap butt joint. This is the force is a 250 Newton, 250 kilonewton, and width of the plate is given. Width of the plate W is 200 mm. This is the W given 200 mm. Okay, the rivets and plates are made of same steel, and permissible tension and compression shears are given 70, 100, 60 Newton per mm square respectively. Now our aim is to calculate the diameter of the rivets, thickness of the plate, right, and dimensions of the pitch, transverse pitch, and margin of the plate. Then finally efficiency of the joint. We are going to find out it now. Now, very simple. These problems are not a difficult one because have discussed many problems such a manner we discussed right now. Come to this now. Load is given. First we find the diameter of the rivet. There are 5 rivets subjected to tensile, right? Subjected to shear. Rivet 1, rivet 2, rivet 3, rivet 4, rivet 5. 5 rivets, right? Now here load is given. The load is given. Load is equal to here what is this? Double shear. We have to use the formula. This is the formula we derived. Here n is now number of rivets is 5. Number of rivets 5. We are multiplied it 2 because of 2 shear, 2 cross section area. Okay, 2 into cross section area. Hence, from this relation, we are able to find out the diameter of the rivet, 25 mm. Okay, 25 mm. Now we go for the next thing to find the thickness of the plates and and the pitch of the rivets. Now see the thickness of the plates. Now before entering the thickness of the plates, now we have to consider the section as minimum cross section area. 1 minute. See here, just read this sentence. In case of the tension in the plate, the first thought of this investigate the section XX only. Which is section? This section only we are going to concentrate now. Okay. Now the section is the minimum cross section area. Minimum cross section area. Minimum cross section. However, because why minimum cross section area? This is the 3 rivets are located. If you consider tensile strength, this is a minimum cross section area, right? Now if you consider this, this area is more width because only presented here 3 rivets, here only presented more number of rivets. That's what we are saying here. Okay, here the section, here the, okay, this is no here. Okay, now see here. The failure at the section YY may be due to shear failure in 2 rivets or crushed rivets, or crushing failure in the plate of 2 holes. Okay, 2 holes. On the other hand, the plate might fail in the tension. On the other hand, the plate might in the tension. Okay, anyway, this is just simple explanations. You can go ahead, you can understand, doesn't matter. Okay, now I come to this here. I mean, anyway, now we are concentrating the plate going to be subject, I mean, tension. Now, how many rivets are there? I mean, what they are saying here, exactly, I tell you that, what they are saying here, which one is going to have first failure here? Suppose the load P is acting here, P is acting here. That this two guys only going to have first failure. That's what they are saying, telling that. Because once this failure, after that only this is going to happen. Because this is a front portion, this is the rivet is sitting, whatever we are apply the load, first failure may happen in these two rivets only. That's what we are considering this. That's what we are considering this, I mean, okay, little I'm confusing. Yeah, sorry for 1 minute. Yeah,
Sir,
tell me.
here we should take as 10 rivets or 5 rivets, sir.
I mean, here 5 rivets.
But in the above figure, there are 5 on each side, no, sir.
I mean, we are taking, I mean, symmetric side, na?
Okay.
Or getting?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, give me a minute. Yeah. No, yeah, okay, okay. Anyway, whatever I told correct only. See here, however, the section minimum cross section area. However, if the main plate is break at this section, two hole section denoted by YY, the section YY this one. Two holes are presented. Okay, must be, I mean, two holes denoted by M must also fail before the joint will break. That is true. Whatever I told that only. I mean, the failure at a section YY may be due to shear failure in two rivets or crushing failure in the plate at two holes. Crushing failure in the plate at two holes. Okay. I mean, on the other hand, the plate might fail in tension, otherwise tension at the two hole section without affecting the third hole section. Without affecting the third hole section. Whatever I told you, know, this XXY YY section going to have first failure. It may occur failure, the XX section, the first failure going to be occur in the YY section. Okay, but even though now the strength equation we are considering for two hole section rather than the three hole section. Okay, now W minus 2D into T, W minus 2D into T into P, this is a tensile. Now what is this with respect to this? We can find out, we know D diameter is given already in the problem. Now anyway, diameter we already found it in the early case, we found it. Now we can find it out from this relation T. What is the thickness of the plate? Now pitch of the rivets, pitch of the rivets is what is the pitch of the rivets? I mean, how many rivets here located? Maximum number of rivets is 3. 1 2 3, 3 rivets. I mean, we know the width of the plate, 200 mm given, 200 mm given. Now how many rivets going to be placed in the 200 mm, 200 mm width of the plate? Then width of the plate divided by number of plates. Now pitches we know, pitch. Now we would like to find out the pitch only. Then we know the width of the plate is 200 mm, number of rivets is already located at 3 rivets, then divided by 3, then this is the pitch of the plate, pitch of the rivet. The distance between the one center of the rivet to another center of the rivet is called a pitch. That is 66.67 mm. Now actually now we come to the margin. I mean, this is a standard dimension 1.5D, and this also standard 0.6p, and the efficiency of the joint. I mean, now we'd like to find out the efficiency of the joint. Now we have to go for first finding the shear resistance. Shear resistance 2 into pi by 4 d squared into n into 5. Okay, N is here we are considering symmetrical side, we are considering 5. Okay, now this is our shear resistance. Now we know PT, tensile, tension. We have found it here. Okay. Now W minus 2D into T into sigma T, that is nothing but 262.5 and 500 Newton. This is shear resistance we know. Now we know the compressive, I mean crushing resistance with respect to compressive stress. Compressive stress also given. Permissible compressive, permissible tensile, permissible shear, all are given in the problem. Then find out all three forces: shearing resistance, and crushing resistance, and tensile resistance. Then which force going to be less, that should be considered for finding the efficiency of the joint. Now, I mean, before going to efficiency of joint, we have to find out when the plate in solid condition, what is the strength without introducing any holes. Wt into sigma t. This is, I mean, 335, I mean 305, 350 kilonewton. Then efficiency of the joint is nothing but numerator should be least value from PS PCPT divided by our P, our solid plate, strength of the solid plate. This will give you efficiency. Efficiency is equal to 75%. Do you have any doubt in this question? Hello? Okay.
No, sir.
Okay. Now I come to this longitudinal butt joint for boiler cell. Now, see, first we go through theory, what we are going to study, why we are studying, then you can understand, then we go for the discussion. Now, there are two types of riveted joints. There are two types of riveted joints in a cylindrical boiler cell. One is longitudinal butt joint, another one is circumferential lap joint. I have shown you in the beginning of the slide, I mean, application of the rivets. We are using a lot of rivets to make the boiler cell, right? Now, in the boiler cell, we are using two types of joints. One is longitudinal butt joint, second one is circumferential lap joint. Now, one by one, we are going to discuss now. The plate of the boiler cell is bent to form the ring, and the two edges of the plate are joined by the longitudinal butt joint. See here, this one. Now exactly I show you some example here. Now see here. Now this is longitudinal butt joint. Exactly this only. See here. I mean, this is inner view. This is, I mean, if you take along the thickness, this is going to be like this. This is a two plate. I mean, this is the top plate, this one. Okay. I mean, here it may be the inner strip. Here we are saying cell plate. This is a main plate. This cell plate means main plate. But here we are using outer strap. This is outer strap. This is inner strap. Inner strap. Okay. Inner strap. Sorry. This is inner strap. Inner strap, outer strap, maybe here same length. Whatever I am showing this figure for our understanding, in this figure maybe same length, same width, sorry, same width. But here outer strap, small width. In the side view, we are saying width. This is the width of the outer strap. Inner strap width is more. Inner strap width is more. Now that's what we are saying here. I mean, this longitudinal joint is usually double strap, triple riveted butt joint, double strap, triple riveted butt joint. The longitudinal joint makes the ring from the steel plate. Makes the ring from the steel plate. I mean, this is exactly where you can see this is in top view, this is in side view. Exactly like looks like a ring from the steel plate, ring from the steel plate. Okay, while making boiler vessel. Okay. But in circumferential joint used to get the required length of the boiler cell by connecting one ring to another ring, one ring to another ring. For the for this, I mean, in the circumferential joint, one ring is kept overlapping with over the adjacent ring. One ring kept overlapping adjacent ring. Adjacent ring. See here, this is circumferential joint overlapping. Two rings of the cylinder going to be overlapped. Hence, we are saying this is circumferential lap joint. Circumferential lap joint. Now we come to one by one for this one by one how we are designing here. Thickness of the boiler cell. The thickness of the boiler cell is nothing but what is this formula? I mean 2 sigma. Okay, you might have been studied. No, what is this formula? From which stress obtained this formula?
Hoop stress.
Hoop stress or longitudinal stress? Yeah, please one more time repeat.
Sir, hoop stress.
Okay, thank you. Okay, this is nothing but hoop stress. PIDI by internal pressure. PI is internal pressure acting inside the cylinder, I mean pressure vessel. Okay, and the thickness of the wall, inner diameter of the cylinder, and the permissible tensile stress. Okay, now the plate. Now we come to this next. Now the section, not this one. Okay. Yeah. Now see here. I mean the plate of the cylinder wall is drilled for the rivets. Obviously drilled for the rivets. The weaker section passing through the rivet holes. The weaker section passing through the rivet holes, so will not be strong as the original solid plate. I mean, why we are in here also, we are going to introduce efficiency of the plate. Suppose if you are not using any holes, the strength of the plate is better. Okay, then the thickness also it will give exact thickness. Suppose we made it a holes, then we are inserting the rivet, then obviously the strength is going to be less as compared to original solid plate. Hence, how can I say the thickness is same as original plate? When I'm introducing holes, the plate the plate thickness, introducing the holes through the plate thickness, the plate is losing their strength. Then as compared to original plate thickness, as compared to original plate in the sense, the solid plate thickness T is much strong. Solid plate thickness, that is with respect to without hole, but with the hole the strength is going to be reduced. Hence I am introducing efficiency to increase my thickness of the plate, to increase my thickness of the plate. Okay, that's what pi di dot by 2 sigma into T epsilon efficiency. So that's what, see here, the plate of the cylinder will be drilled for the rivets, the weaker section passing through the rivet holes, right? Then will not be as strong as compared to original solid plate. Hence we are introducing the ratio of the strength of the joint. We are introducing here efficiency. Okay, the ratio of the strength of the joint to the strength of the original plate expressed by the efficiency. Efficiency. Suppose I'm asking that in the casting process, we made a cylindrical drum in the casting process. Then that time, which formula I can use? Either this formula or this formula. Suppose I'm not using any welded joint. I'm not using any, riveted joint. This is single component made with the help of the casting process. Then which formula we can use for design our thickness of the vessel? Either this formula or this formula. Please, someone reflect. This formula, which formula it will be suitable? Without any joints, I prepared my vessels directly from casting process. Then which formula you will be able to use?
Above formulas.
Yeah, the first one. The first one we are going to use. Okay, this is efficiency. It is efficiency of the riveted joint. Now the wall thickness. Now the wall thickness of the boiler is subjected to thinning due to corrosion. Okay, due to corrosion I mean, we are going to consider the corrosion issues also while defining our thickness of the wall, thickness of the shell, thickness of the cell. That's what here they mentioned here. These theories we have to study. That's all. The wall thickness of the boiler is subjected to thinning due to corrosion, which reduces the, I mean, useful life of the cell or life of the boiler. Hence, we have to provision to made suitable increase in wall thickness, increase wall thickness. Then, I mean, that can be compensating our thinning process due to effect of corrosion, due to effect of corrosion. That's what we are introducing here. Some corrosion allowances, that is nothing but CA. The corrosion allowance is nothing but CA, is additional metal thickness, over and above the, or above that cylinder, cylindrical vessel. Now, I mean, this is withstand, even when we are increasing thickness, withstand more pressure, withstand the corrosion. Okay, corrosion. Hence, we are introducing the extra thickness, that is nothing but corrosion allowances. I mean, this is whatever we discussed earlier. This I'm introducing based on corrosion region. I'm based on corrosion region of interest. Where the corrosion region is more, this may be more. I mean, depends on region of interest, where we are using the boiler, at what type of fluid we are using inside the boiler, and which scenario, which atmosphere. Then this may be varying this CA. But I mean, the thickness they are varying allowances they are given 1.2 to 2 mm, 1.5 mm to 2 mm. It will be varying. Okay, this is corrosion allowances. Now you come to this. Now we already discussed to how we are defining the thickness of the plate with respect to efficiency. I mean, solid plate, and we compared with solid plate. We compared with the, I mean, drilled plate. Right now, in this case, I mean, this is the efficiency already given for here when we are using lap joint, single riveted. Okay, 1 minute. ஏய் கிளாஸில் இருக்க, நான் கால் பண்ணுறேன் அப்புறமேட்டு. நான் கிளாஸில் இருக்கேன், அப்புறம் பண்ணுறேன். Okay, for the efficiency, we can take it from our table. For 70 means single riveted joint, we have to use efficiency value 45 to 60%. Now, I mean, see here, double strap butt joint, double riveted double strap butt joint, then the efficiency value we can use up to 70 to 83. Okay, now I come to the permissible tensile stress. Now, permissible tensile stress is equal to SUT by FS. We already very well known this one. Now, I mean, we are going to discuss about our factor of safety. In factor of safety, boiler applications varies from 4.2 to 4.75, 4.5 to 4.75. But in safe practice and our safe purpose, we are using factor of safety 5. Factor of safety 5. But there are two materials we are using. I mean, this is a material, a grade ST 37BR, grade ST 42BR. This is nothing but it will defining our yield strength of the, I mean, ultimate strength of the our boiler vessel material. Okay. Now we come to the diameter of the rivet. Earlier we discussed thickness of the cylindrical vessel. Now we come to the diameter of the rivet now. Okay, now diameter of the rivets. I mean diameter of the rivets. See here, we are following here standard values obtained from the design data book. See here, that the diameter of the rivets obtained from the empirical relationship suggested by the design engineers from the, maybe the people who made a design data book, especially in the field of boiler. So they suggested that when the thickness of the plate is more than 8 mm, then our diameter is calculated by using Unwin's formula. Unwin's formula, that guy might have been done research and they might have been obtained this formula. He might have been obtained this formula. D, our diameter of the rivet is equal to 6 into square root of thickness of the vessel. Okay. This is the thickness of the cylindrical wall. Now, when the thickness of the plate is less than 8 mm, then with less than 8 mm, then I mean, now very, very important. This is when the plate thickness is less than 8 mm, we are going for this concept, equating our shear resistance of the rivet to our crushing resistance of the rivet. We are using that. Equating shear resistance of the rivet to crushing resistance for finding the diameter of the rivet when the thickness of the plate is less than 8 mm. Then the thickness of the plate is less than 8 mm. Now, I come to here, the diameter of the rivet is slightly more than the rivet diameter. The diameter of the rivet is slightly more than the rivet diameter. The diameter of the rivet hole, sorry, the diameter of the rivet hole, the diameter of the rivet hole is more than that the our rivet. Obviously, then only we can easily access our rivet hole and our rivet inside the plate, right? They have given the standard relationship between rivet diameter and the diameter of the hole for especially for boiler application. Okay, for this is small d is our diameter of the rivet 12 mm. This is if you are preferring diameter of rivet 12 mm, our diameter of the hole should be 13 mm. Suppose my diameter of the rivet sunk diameter is 30 mm, my hole size is 31.5 mm. We should not go beyond that. I mean, especially this is for boiler application. Now they have given some standard relationship also for d dash whole dia is d dash is equal to d plus 1 plus 2 mm. Okay, d 1 plus 2 mm. This is the dia of the rivet hole. Now I come to the next one. I mean the pitch of the rivets. Now we are going to talk about pitch of the rivets. Okay. Now see here, the pitch of the rivets is middle. Pitch of the rivet in the middle and inner rows is one half of the pitch of the outer row, that is p by 2. They clearly mentioned here. See the figure, you can get it more clarity. This is they're saying, they're telling this only. Here p by 2. Here p by 2. Just to keep in mind, this is nothing but outer row. This is outer row, this is a middle row, this is inner row. This is outer row rivets, this is a middle row rivets, this is inner row rivets. Please keep in mind. Okay. Now see here, the plate, this is the inner strap plate, this is outer strap plate, this is outer strap plate. Okay, 1 minute. This is outer strap plate. Outer strap plate. Now see here, this is standard design. Standard design. I mean, you can use inner strap, outer strap, same width also. You can use inner strap, outer strap, different width. But inner strap plate, always more width. Always more width. When we are going for inner strap plate, more width, then the inner strap plate, which rivets are sitting inner strap plate, which rivets are sitting inner strap plate, they are subjected into singles here. When the rivets are sitting in the inner strap plate and outer strap plate, they are subjected to doubles here. They are subjected to doubles here. You may expect this type of objective type question. Suppose our boiler joints, I mean long butt joint, we are using both two pair of two strap plates. In the two strap plates are not same width, then it's going to be some of the rivets going to be a single here, some of the rivets going to be a double here. In this case, suppose the strap plates, inner and outer strap plates are same width, then all the rivets going to have a doubles here. This kind of question you may expect. And just keep in mind, now p by 2, what is p by 2 here? This is what is p by 2 here. Then this is what is p. This is inner outer row. What is outer row? This is outer row of the rivets. This is this is from the side view, in the cross section view. Okay, now this is a middle row of the rivets, this is inner row of the rivets. Just keep in mind, this is a transverse pitch, PT. Now we are going to discuss that one now. Few minutes we are going to concentrate that only. The pitch of the rivets in the middle and inner rows, one half of the pitch in outer row, that is nothing but p by 2, the whatever we discussed that just now. The pitch of the rivets in the outer row is obtained. The outer row is obtained by equating the shear strength to the rivet to the tensile strength. Very important. This is we are going to discuss later in the derivation. the pitch of the here. the pitch of the the pitch of the outer row is obtained by equating the shear strength of the rivet, equating the shear strength of the rivet to the tensile strength of the plate. Very, very important. Shear strength of the rivet equal to the tensile strength of the plate for finding the rivets, I mean, finding the pitch of the rivets in the outer row. in the outer row. Okay, now, I mean, now let us consider the pitch. Let us consider the pitch now, P, with the reference. I mean, with the now we are considering pitch is a reference. Okay. Now, what is the tensile strength? Tensile strength of the plate per pitch. per pitch is now we are considering only one rivet now. Then what is this? I mean, two rivets. Sorry, two rivets. Right here, exactly what we discussed earlier problem. Sorry. Now I'm considering one pitch here. For example, this pitch now. Here, this is the pitch, right? Now, I mean P minus D. What is the tensile force here? P minus D into sigma T into T. Sigma T is nothing but a tensile stress. Okay. Now, this is our whatever we discussed. P into, I mean, tensile strength of the plate per pitch length. Pt is equal to P minus D into T into sigma T. Now, this is already we discussed one. Now, you come to that, whatever we earlier discussed. Now, the inner outer straps are, I mean, unequal width. Then, in width of the inner strap more than that of the outer strap. Okay. I mean, I told you that, I mean, the width of the inner strap always more than the outer strap. Mostly, not always, mostly. And suppose the rivets are outer row subjected to single shear. That's what I told you. When inner strap is more width, then outer rivets are subjected to single shear. That's what I told you here. Single shear. This is going to subject in single shear. But when these rivets are subjected to double shear. Now I based on that information, I'm considering N1. Suppose N1 is the number of rivets subjected to single shear. Based on that, width of the inner and outer strap plate, I am considering N1 is number of rivets subjected to single shear. Now, at N2 is nothing but the number of straps subjected to double shear. double shear, N2. Now, see another thing. I mean, when the straps are equal width, then all the rivets are going to have double shear. All the rivets are going to have double shear. That's what we are saying now. See here, I mean, the shear resistance of one rivet. In general, what is the shear resistance of one rivet? Pi by 4 d squared is shear is pi by 4 d squared into tau for one rivet. Right? Now, as per the standard condition, now I am considering, I mean, that rivet, I mean, shear resistance of one rivet is subjected to double shear. Because now the rivet is subjected to double shear, then introducing 2 into pi by 4 d squared into tau is the correct. But as per the standard norms, I'm introducing instead of 2, I'm putting 1.875. That's all. Okay. Now, now this is when the double shear. This is when the rivet subjected into single shear. This is when the rivets are subjected into double shear. Okay. This is double shear. Now you take this case in when the unequal width of the strap plates, some of the rivets going to have single shear, some of the rivets going to have double shear. Which rivets going to have single shear? That number of rivets I am considering N1. Which number of rivets are, I mean, connected in the both strap plates, then those rivets are going to have double shear. Now, based on that, now I am finding my shear strength. Now, shear strength is nothing but I am summing both the force, shear force with respect to single shear of the rivets with respect to double shear of the rivets. That's all. Now, this is shear resistance of the rivet. Shear resistance of the rivet. Now simplify this equation. Now this is a PS, shear resistance. Okay. Now what is our condition here? To find the pitch of the rivets in the outer row. Outer row. Outer row is obtained by equating the shear strength of the rivet to the tensile strength of the plate. Now find the tensile strength of the plate now. Now this is the already we have found it. Already we have found it this. Okay, tensile strength of the plate. Now equating A and B, equating A and B, then you able to find out the pitch of the rivets. You able to find out the pitch of the rivets which are locating in the outer row, which are locating in the outer row. That's all. Okay. Now the pitch, this is the minimum limit according to Indian boiler regulations. We are going to consider the pitch of the rivets should not be less than 2D. 2D. Minimum should be 2D. And the leak-proof joint, to provide a leak-proof joint, the maximum pitch we have to do, then CT plus 41.28. They might have been done research and obtained this value, this empirical equation. CT plus 41.28 is nothing but thickness of the rivet, thickness of the plate, thickness of the plate. I mean, C is, what is C? We will see. The word C is also they have given already table. This is for C is given. CT plus 41.28. Then the C value for lap joint 1.31. Suppose when we are going for number of rivets, one rivet per pitch length, one rivet. Now the slab joint, single strap butt joint 1.53, double strap butt joint 1.75. Suppose my number of rivets per pitch length is four number of rivets I'm using, then the four or three, whatever we are using, for example, three rivets we are using, then the pitch of the rivets should be outer row, but in case 2 they considered outer row. That's all. Now now the minimum distance between the rows of full number of rivet. This is the standard. I mean, in the problem we have to give. I mean, even when we are going to design, we have to take it from the table. This is the information should be given in problem. Now, what is the margin? Margin is nothing but we already discussed 1.5D, a distance between the center of the rivet to edge of the plate, right? And the thickness of the straps. Thickness of the straps is, I mean, straps for riveted joints calculated according to class 182. I mean, according to standard terms and condition of Indian boiler regulation, we are following T1.75 T. T1 for wide strap. Suppose narrow strap 0.625 T. T is nothing but thickness of the plate. Okay. Now this is the case one. When this is the case one when the straps are unequal width and unequal width. This is case one when the straps are unequal width. Now when the straps are equal width, we are going to follow this one. Equal width, T1 is equal to 0.625 into T into P minus D divided by P minus 2D. T1 is the thickness of the straps. Both is thickness of the strap, this one. Okay. T is nothing but our thickness of the main plate, thickness of the vessel, T. Now come to the permissible stress. I mean, according to the class 4 Indian boiler regulation, then the ultimate strength and the shear strength of the steel plate and rivets are given 21 and 26 tons per square inch respectively. I mean, this is nothing but tensile strength and the shear strength of the steel plates. Steel plate they are given. Then ultimate strength. This is, I mean, just explanation of this only. But we have to consider only this one. For ultimate strength, ultimate tensile strength. This is ultimate shear strength of the steel plate. Which plate we are using in the boiler. Okay, which is steel plate we are using in the boiler. I mean, this is after applying the factor of safety. So we are using a factor of safety 5. I mean, 4.5 to 4.75 is the correct value. But for safe limit, we are using factor of safety 5. Okay, now I come to the circumferential lap joint. Now, as I discussed earlier, there are two types. One is longitudinal butt joint, another one is circumferential lap joint. So this is the whatever we discuss, this portion only we discuss longitudinal butt joint. Okay. Now we are going to discuss here circumferential butt joint. Now we are going to discuss this portion. This portion now. See here, in the circumferential butt joint, there are circumferential lap joint is used to connect the different cylindrical rings together and form the boiler cell. Here, I mean, in this case, the one ring is kept overlapping over the another ring, and the two rings are fastened by the circumferential riveted joint. Circumferential riveted joint. This, I mean, this type of joint is also called. This also used to this type of joint also used to connect the end cover of the cylindrical cell. End cover of the cylindrical cell is nothing but I show you. Please give me a minute. I show you. I go back. We see the cylindrical cell. Okay. Yeah. The here. Yeah. In this figure, I thought they might have been given. They didn't give. Yeah. This is the longitudinal butt joint. This is the longitudinal butt joint. This one. This is our circumferential lap joint. I mean, there are two cylinders overlapping to each other, then they're making joint using rivets. That's what lying the circumferential lap joint. This is they're using extra plate. See here, this is outer strap plate. Inner strap plate you can't see that. Outer strap plate only able to see here. I mean here end cover means I mean here some cylindrical vessel, the end plate will be a cylindrical plate, cylindrical disc. The cylindrical disc going to be joined here along the thickness. That's what end plate, end cover we are saying that. Okay. Now I come to here. Now, thickness of the cylindrical cell, I mean, this is similar to our long-needle butt joint because the, I mean, long-needle butt joint, what we used, this is the maximum stress, no? The same stress will be there, hence the same. This whatever we discuss in the long-needle butt joint, the same concept we are introducing for using here, finding the thickness of the shell. Diameter of the rivet. How you are defining diameter of the rivet? Are you? Mhm. 1 minute, something, some of the data is missing. Just give me a minute, I come back. 15 minutes. It's not coming. Yeah. Are you able to see now? Yeah, are you able to see? Yeah, please, someone reflect.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Now this is the same procedure. Whatever we used is long butt joint, the same procedure we are using for finding the thickness of the plate while considering the circumferential lap joint for the boiler cell. Now diameter of the rivet also here same thing we are using. Unwinds formula. If the plate thickness is greater than 8 mm, unwinds formula, you may expect this type of question any objective type. Any competitive exam also you may expect this type of question. Okay, now the thickness of the plate less than the 8 mm, then we have to go for the equating shear stress of the rivets to the crushing resistance. Shear resistance of the rivets equal to the equating shear resistance of the rivets to the crushing resistance. Very important. This also you may get objective type questions like this. Okay, now I come to the number of rivets. How many rivets to be required? Now, see here. I mean, what is total number of shear resistance? What is the total number of shear resistance? P is equal to total shear resistance. P is equal to shear force is equal to N. N is number of rivets into pi by 4 d squared into tau. Right? Now, I mean, that is this. Now we are equating to finding the now what is the right answer? This one. I mean, what is the internal pressure? That this must be equal to, I mean this must be equal to the here the the total shear resistance all rivets is this must be equal to with respect to our internal pressure developed inside pi by 4 di square. This is the, I mean, this is the front top view. This is, a sectional view of the boiler. This is the front view of the boiler. Now see here, this is a di. Internal pressure, fluid pressure is internal inside. Then pi by 4 di squared into pi. Then that must be, then only the boiler is safe condition. Must be this must be equal. Then only boiler safe condition. Okay, then suppose this is less than, it will be failure. Then based on that concept, now we are defining our number of rivets here. Number of rivets we are defining here. Now see here, from this equation, be able to find out number of rivets. Number of rivets. Now next one is pitch of the rivets. The pitch of the rivets for the circumferential joint, see here, this is the pitch of the rivets. What is the pitch here? Okay, pitch of the rivet. Now, here also assuming that the circumferential joint, the tensile strength of the plate per pitch length, we are considering. Here considering PT is equal to P1 minus D into T sigma 1. Sigma 1. The tensile strength of the plate, the tensile strength of the plate per pitch is, this is this is which condition? Solid plate condition. This is solid plate condition. This is now while provided a rivet after riveted condition. Tensile strength of the plate per pitch length of the rivet after provided the rivet. Okay, this is at solid state condition. Now, in this from the equation A, where is equation A? Yeah, here. This is equation A now. And B is the efficiency of the, and A and B, the efficiency of the circumferential joint. Now P1 by P. P1 or PT by P. PT is nothing but PT is nothing but PT is nothing but our tensile strength of the rivet after riveting, tensile strength PT divided by P. This is our efficiency of circumferential joint. Efficiency of circumferential joint. From this, simplify this equation, you are going to get this. Okay, this is efficiency of the circumferential joint. Now the pitch P1 is the circumferential joint. P1 is the circumferential joint here. This P1 from this two distance between these two rivet. Okay, that is P1. Okay, now this is very simple only. Now here actually I missed out one thing. Yeah, that's all. I mean, this is the P must be equal to external force acting on the boiler joint. That's what we are defining here. I thought must be, it might have been told you early. Now I am telling, please understand. This is nothing but this one. Okay. The remaining theories are simple only. Now you come to this. I mean, these are the theories. Now what is saying, the efficiency of the end circumferential joint assumed to be 50%. I mean, the 50% of the longitudinal joint. But longitudinal joint, I mean, for intermediate joints, efficiency of the circumferential joint N1 is equal to 0.62. Okay, these are the theories. This is nothing difficult one. And for they have given for end joints, for intermediate joint, for end joint. End joint means intermediate joints. This is at the end cover. This is at the intermediate joint. Then here they are telling that efficiency of the circumferential joint is equal to 0.5 percentage of the our longitudinal joint. Longitudinal joint. It's also 0.5 per 5 by 0.5 into efficiency I mean, so sorry, number of rivets in one row. This is number of rivets in one row. Sorry. First, we are finding number of rivets in one row once if we know the circumference of the boiler. pi into di plus t divided by p1. P1 is nothing but pitch circumference pitch. Okay. Now then we came to know that how many rivets to be required in one row. How many rivets to be required in one row? Suppose now number of rows. Suppose we know how many total number of rivets we are going to use. How many total number of, what is the total number of rivets we are going to use in the rivet in the boiler cell? If you know that, then this is we will know. This is we have to decide, right? Then once we know this, then we already know this is n1 per one row. Then we can find out total number of rows. Hey, I call you back after half an hour. Okay, now this is the number of rows. Very simple. It's not a difficult one. Now, I mean, this is the after determine the number of rows. The type of the joint is single riveted lap joint or double riveted lap joint. Is we have to decide the pitch of the pitch again. It can be readjusted based on our design. The pitch P1 is obtained by the above procedure. Now, see here the maximum pitch. Here also they are using standard condition. This is a standard condition obtained from the our Indian boiler regulation terms and condition. P mean is equal to 2D P max. I mean this pitch only we are talking now. This pitch we are talking about this pitch only. Okay. Now I come to this transverse pitch. Transverse pitch in that sense, you see here, I mean this is a cross-sectional view, not cross-sectional, it's I mean top view, the cross-sectional view of the our along the thickness of the plate. I mean this is maybe outer ring, this is an inner ring. So here we are not using any strap plate, hence we are saying only this is a circumferential lap joint, because this is outer ring and inner ring. I mean the two rings are overlapping and making joint circumferential direction. This is called circumferential lap joint. We are not using any extra strap plate. Okay. Now this is a double riveted lap, means circumferential joint. Now see here, what is this here? A is nothing but, I mean this is the edge. This is a. Now we know, right? M is nothing but edge to meet at the center of the rivet. At the edge to center of the rivet is the bottom side. Then middle is a transverse pitch. This is our transverse pitch. If you know A, you know margin, then we are able to find out a transverse pitch PT. Now here, this is a standard condition from the, for zigzag riveting and chain riveting, they have given like this. For zigzag riveting, 0.33p, this is the pitch. I mean this is the 0.67d. Okay, now this is our, I mean for chain riveting. Zigzag riveting means the rivets rows are not chain type. This is rivets are chain type. This is the rivets are offsetted. This is a one row like this, one row like this, one row like this, one row like this. These are the offsetted. This type of rivets, they are giving this formula we have to use. This type of rivets, we have to use this formula. Okay. Now I come to this problem. Now see the problem. Yeah, two tie bar, I mean of two tie bar of bridge structure 250 mm wide and 20 mm thick are to be connected by the double strap butt joint. So when you see the figure, double strap butt joint, the rivets are and the plates are made of steel. The permissible stresses are tension, shear, compression 80, 60, 120 Newton per mm square. Now here they have given the problem. I mean determine the diameter of the rivet by using this relation, and now where the thickness of the plate is T, plate thickness, we have to find out, right? Okay. Determine the number of rivets by number of rivets by equating the, here they given this condition also, equating the strength of the plate with the strength of the rivets, strength of the plate with the strength of the rivet. Okay. Assume the shear resistance of the one rivet in double shear 1.875 times. This is based on our Indian boiler regulation. They followed this problem. Okay, 1.875 times of the shear resistance of the single shear. Now show the arrangement of rivets. Now the last one is determine the efficiency of the joint. Efficiency of the joint. Very simple problem. I mean margin is nothing but 1.5d. Transverse pitch is 2D, and thickness of the strap is 0.625T as per the Indian Boiler Regulation Act. Okay, regulations. Now come to this. This is, I mean, thickness also given here. Thickness of the plate is given in the problem 20 mm. 20 mm. Sorry, I thought it's not given. Thickness of the plate is given 20 mm. Then find out our, I mean, our diameter of the rivet. Once the diameter of the rivet, go for the shear resistance. They are given already. Find out the shear resistance, and once the shear resistance find out, go to the crushing resistance. Crushing resistance dt into sigma c, crushing resistance. Okay, now which one is less now? I mean, our shear resistance is less than the crushing resistance. Hence, therefore, the shear strength, shear strength of the rivet is criterion design. We have to consider that force only. We have to consider minimum only. Suppose if I consider this, crushing going to be a problem. Crushing going to be a problem. Hence, we have to take minimum value here, because then only we are safe. We have to save both side, either crushing side or shear side. If you are considering, now I am considering lowest force shear resistance, then our crushing side is safe. If you are considering this 64 800, then shearing going to be a problem. Hence, I am considering lowest value. Yes.
Time up, sir. 4:30 is already.
Yeah. 1 minute. In 1 minute. Yeah, only we discuss these two slides, then I stop it here. Next class we will discuss the problem. Cooperate. Okay. Actually, I told you 2 hours class, but anyway, I complete this problem, and this is very simple. Very simple. Within 5 minutes, we will finish it. Everything within 10 minutes. Please cooperate. I stop it here, because even the syllabus is vast syllabus. So we have to discuss everything effective manner. Okay, please. Now I am considering the lowest force, resistance force. Now this is the based on that. Now I am considering this 64412 my design criteria. This one is my design criteria. Now tensile strength of the plate in outer row. Tensile strength of the plate in outer row. Outer row. PT is equal to W minus D into sigma T. Then this is 25, 250 here. W is 250. Is already given. 250 minus 27. This is already given. We have found it already. 27. Now we are considering outer row. Outer row we are considering 27. Then this is our tensile strength in the outer row. Now equating the strength of the plate with the shear strength of the rivets. That's what a given condition here. The condition is given here. That's what we are following here. See the condition. Determine the number of rivets by equating the strength of the plate with the strength of the rivet. Strength of the rivet. Okay, that's what we are equating now. Now equate this. Whatever we have found, this is a tensile strength. Tensile strength is equal to shear strength. This one, shear strength. Now, how many shear strength? Then how many rivets? N is equal to, from this N, 356 800 is equal to N into 64. Then number of rivets we are going to get 5.54. 5.54 rivets. Here, how can you may think here, sir, here only given 64 kilonewton, for example. This side 356 kilonewton, this left hand side. Now right hand side is 64 kilonewton only. Hence, we would like to share this load equally all the rivets. Hence, how many rivets we would like to need? Then we are multiplying this. We are finding the number of rivets from this relation. We are equating shear resistance equal to tensile resistance. While tensile resistance we have found it, but shear resistance we have found it, that is per single rivet. This is one rivet for double shear. Then now you would like from these relations, from this assumptions and this condition, based on this condition, we can find out our total number of rivets. Now come to this, then remaining things. This type of rivet also called diamond shape, or called diamond shape rivet shape, is called launch joint. But M is, we know, 1.5D, to transverse pitch is, we know, 2D, and T is nothing but T1. I mean, strap plate thickness is T1 is equal to 0.625 T. Okay, these are the standard formula. You can get it. Now, I come to here. This is a interesting one. Then see here, very interesting one. Now, what is our pitch here? Here they have given, I mean, see here in the diagram they have given this is the edge to first rivet margin, this rivet to this rivet pitch, this rivet to this rivet pitch, this rivet to the edge given margin. Now total width is W. Then how can I find out a P? I mean, P we didn't find it out now. Now go for finding P. M plus P plus P plus M. Then this is from this relation we are able to find out pitch of the rivet, pitch between the rivets. Now efficiency of the joint. Now efficiency of the joint is very interesting here. In order to call the efficiency of the joint, we will proceed from the outer row of the rivets to the inner row. We are going to find the efficiency from considering from outer row to inner row. Our direction of calculation, our direction of calculation from this section A to this direction. We are considering this is B. This is okay. They already given here. Sorry, this is already they are given A because symmetrical. No? We are considering. I mean, from from this section to A to B, B to C, like that we are going to consider now. So see here, they clearly explains that the joint can fracture along section AA without affecting the rivets in the middle. Obviously, I mean, we are assuming that this may failure, but this may not failure. Because this is first going to be failure, this is second only going to failure. When this is failure, this may not be failure. When this is a failure, this may not be failure. Such a way that we are considering here. That's all. The joint cannot be a fracture along the section BB without shearing one rivet in double shear. So what they are saying here, please clearly understand here. Now, the joint cannot failure. See, this joint cannot failure without failure of this one. That's what they say. The joint this cannot be failure without failure of first one. Without failure of first one, this without failure of this one, that this cannot be failure. Similarly, the another case, the joint. Yeah, please cooperate. I complete it here. The joint cannot failure. This joint cannot failure. These three rivets cannot failure without failuring these two. Without failuring these two with respect to shear. Okay, that's what they're telling that. Now, the joint cannot fracture along the section CC without shearing of the rivets double shear. Their rivets are outer and middle rows. Outer and middle rows. This is outer. I mean, this is in outer. This is middle. Okay, this is inner. Now come to this calculation. I mean, see here, based on the assumption, the strength of the joint along three sections we are going to calculate. Along the section AA, I mean, what is the tensile strength? W minus D into T into sigma T. Then this is a given tensile strength from this joint. This is single joint. Okay, now single rivet. Now I am taking this section B. This is the section B. Now, when I'm taking section B, as I told you that the joint cannot fracture section BB without shearing of one rivet in the outer row. Outer row means without this shear, this cannot failure. Hence, I'm using, I mean, here that the first outer row single rivet going to be a failure. I mean, due to shear. Then now I'm designing my BB section with respect to the first one, with respect to this one. Hence, I'm using 1 into PS. How much is shear strength in the single rivet? Now, see here, when I consider one rivet, W minus D, right? W minus D. This is the thickness, I mean, P minus D here, P minus D into T into sigma T. Now, when I'm considering this rivet, I'm going to consider 2D. Okay, 2D plus the shear strength from the first rivet in the outer row. Then this is our strength of the BB section. Now come to this last section, CC. This is CC. The section CC here. CC here, then what is the stress? What is the strength here? I mean, without these three guys, without failure of this guy cannot failure. After failing this guy, only this guy going to failure. Hence, now I'm going to substitute. Now I'm going to consider first shear tensile strength of this three guy, and I'm going to consider this guy's shear resistance. Now, see here. I mean, when I'm considering three rivet hole, W minus 3D into T into sigma T plus three rivets shear strength, shear resistance. These three rivets shear resistance I am considering now. Earlier case, this rivet shear resistance considered. Now this case I am considering shear resistance. Okay, now find out these values. Now among all these values, okay, anyway, I come to later that one. Shear resistance of all rivets. What is the shear resistance for all rivets? Perhaps shear resistance of all rivets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Total, I mean, rivets is 6. Then 6 into PS. 6 into PS. We already know PS, right? PS, we already found it earlier. Now, PS is already, we have found it here. This one. Now, this is a total shear resistance. Now, I mean, from A, B, C, and D, the lowest strength is going to, lowest strength we are considering. This is 356 kilonewton. 356 kilonewton for finding our efficiency of the joint. Now, this is lowest value divided by 400 kilonewton. 400 kilonewton is given in the 400 kilonewton. We already found it, already given the problem, I think. 400 kilonewton. We have found it. Yeah, that is solid plate strength. Where we have found that? Okay, are you clear now? Any doubts? This is 400 kilonewton. Then finally, this is efficiency of our joint. Yeah, here. I thought earlier page we found it here. WT, we know W, 250 mm thickness we know, sigma T we know. This is the at a solid plate. Solid plate. Then this is our efficiency of the joint. See, this is very simple. When you go through video, you can get it more clarity. Now, the last slide, I stop it here. Now, very simple. I'm not going to more discussion about this slide because we have done enough discussion about this slide in the form of bolt and nut joint, threaded joint, thread and bolt joint. Okay. See here, this is the same concept. Nothing changes. Same concept. I mean, the same concept we are going to discuss. I mean, this is see here when the line of action, the external force doesn't pass through the center of the gravity, this reverts. The joint is called eccentrically loaded joint. Eccentrically loaded joint. This is similar to our whatever we discussed, eccentrically loaded bolted joint, thread and bolted joint. The same thing only. Okay. Now this is for example, the plate is here. This is another plate. This is connected with the help of the rivet 1, 2, 3, another row 4, 5, 6, another row 7, 8, 9. Okay. Now these rivets, due to primary force, direct primary force. I mean, this is a primary, I mean the P1 dash is a direct primary force with respect to acting load P. Direct primary force. I mean, primary force, this is load 50 kilonewton divided by number of rivets. Then each rivet is going to have same primary force. P1 dash is equal P2 dash is equal P3 dash is equal P4 dash. Now come to secondary shearing force with respect to bending moment, with respect to bending effect. With respect to bending effect, this also we already discussed. P1 double frame is secondary shearing force. P2 double frame secondary shearing force at rivet 2. This is, I mean, like that. P3, P4 like that. Okay. Then go back your threaded joint in the eccentric loaded condition. Then you can understand. This is how to find out primary force from the rivet 1 is nothing but P1 double dash is equal to P into eccentric distance here. This is eccentric distance. This eccentric distance into R2. Now I am considering R1 for consider r1 divided by r1 square plus r2 square plus r3 square, the distance. Okay, now P2, for example, another thing, Pe2 double prime, P2 double prime secondary shearing force at rivet 2, PE into PE, this distance PE into same PE into R2 divided by R1 square plus R2 square plus R3 square. Now we know shearing force, primary shearing force P1 dash, we know shearing force, primary shearing force P2 dash at rivet 1. Then based on the vectorial calculation, vectorially calculation, we whatever we discussed, the same thing apply here. The primary and secondary forces are vectorially added to get the resultant shear force at P1. For example, with respect to P1 prime and P1 double prime. Suppose, for example, with respect to P7 with respect to function of P7 prime, P7 double prime. Then based on that, we are finding the force, shear force. Okay, I mean now, I mean, which rivet is going to have more shear force? More shear force. I mean, which one is away from the center of gravity? This is maybe a center of gravity, CG. Okay, I mean, which bolt is farmost distance from the CG, that is going to have higher shearing force, that can be considered for our designs, rivet design purpose. So I stop it here. Yeah, thank you for your cooperation. Now the next class, there are 2 or 3 problems are there, and we will start our welded joint. I tell you my plan. Welded joints may be 1 or 2 class, maximum 1.5 hour welded joints. Then we are going to start springs, important things I am going to give the lecture. The remaining things you are going to do self study. Which content you are going to do self study, that will be a less weightage. Yeah, guys, any doubt?
No, sir.
Yeah, I think okay. When we will plan minor 2, I shared you some 3 questions already. I shared you that for assignment questions in the last topic. I will share you knuckle joint one question, knuckle joint and quarter joint one question, assignment question. Okay, I mean everything you should complete before 31st, 30 or 31st. You should complete and submit. Okay, all the assignments. And the minor 2, yeah, someone is raising hand. Yeah, tell me, ba. Minor 2, we are going to have maybe next week.
Okay, sir.
Minor 2, when we will plan it?
We can have it next week, sir.
Okay, pa. Yeah, please, guys, if you have any doubt, please go ahead. The riveted joint almost completed. I mean, there is small thing, there is 2 or 3 problems are there. That's all. Then we are going to start. Sorry, riveted joint almost completed. Concept completed. Only the last concept we are going to discuss. The last 2 concepts we are going to discuss the problem. That's all. Some 3 problems, 3 to 4, 3 problems at least. Then we are going to start welded joints. That maybe welded joints may take 1 hour or 1.5 hour. We will complete. Then we go for the springs. Just give me a minute, take the attendance and close the meeting. Roll number 1. Option roll number 2.